Thank you very much for being on the programme. It's great to have you. So you're planning to open up 1,000 family hubs across the country. Just explain what the idea is.
As a government, we're absolutely determined to give every child the best start in life. And so we want to make sure that across a whole range of measures, we are improving support and outcomes for children. But the Best Start Family Hubs really are a key part of that, just to make sure that every community has that hub that parents can go to for support, that children can obviously receive all the nurturing input and support that's available. So we're putting the investment in, and that's alongside making sure we have more expansion of childcare and really quality early years, expansion of the workforce, and also investing in a lot of the interventions that we know children need. I mean, the big thing we want to tackle is that children are school ready when they start school, because we know that that gap that appears when a child starts school in terms of their attainment just doesn't close and when they get to 16 and leave school. So we know we've got to get in early, and we've got to get in with that support that we know will make a difference.
The other thing that I do want to talk to you about as well is something that is causing quite a lot of concern, I think it's fair to say, among some Labour MPs, and that's reforms to special educational needs. So in particular, the EHCPs, so effectively the support plans that are put in place if a child's seen to have additional needs. Are you considering scrapping those?
So ideally, we are focused on reforming the whole system. So I'm not going to get into the mechanics of one particular aspect of the current system.
It's quite an important aspect, though.
Well,
this is why I'm asking a bit, because look, you know and I know there've been an awful lot of parents out there who'll be really, really anxious about this. So that it's a big part of it, isn't it?
So I think for those children that have special educational needs at the moment in our system, there are a large number of them, and some have EHCPs, some don't. What we want to focus on is making sure that all children have their needs met within the school system. And that's why we are investing in the high needs funding. We're investing in the capital so that schools can expand their capacity for taking and supporting children with special educational needs. We're investing in early speech and language support. We're investing in training for teachers to recognise neurodiversity and differences in learning. So we're reforming the whole system.
Can I ask about these reforms? Do you think we have a situation at the minute where, I'm trying to work out the right way of phrasing this, but middle-class parents and some schools are better at navigating the system than others, and so it's not necessarily done on the needs of the child, but on how good their advocates are? So I'm looking, for example, at evidence saying that children in the most affluent areas are more likely to have an EHCP compared to those on free school meals in the least deprived areas. I'm looking at, for example, Ofquer research showing that 42% of children in private schools get extra time in exams compared to 26.5% in state secondaries. Are some private schools, I guess, working the system?
So we want to make sure that every child gets a better start in life,
We know that's true.
Which is why we are targeting our resources at those areas that we know have less resource and are more socio-economically deprived. That's part of our early years strategy, because we know that that's how you give children the best start in life. When it comes to the SEND system, when it comes to the special educational needs system, we know that children present with a whole range of needs within the school system. That's why we moved special educational needs and disabilities into the schools group within the Department for Education. It's in my brief as School Standards Minister. That's a big change from the previous government. They had parked this issue in the too difficult pile somewhere else. So we brought it into the heart of the education system. And we want to make sure that all children have their needs met,
if there's any,
whatever they are.
So I think this is quite important, because if you look at the disability reforms, right, that you run into issues with, there are lots of people who thought that reform was needed, but you didn't go out there and make the argument. If you believe that you're going to have to look at the special educational needs system, you're going to have to take difficult decisions on it, and potentially, get rid of ECHPs, and you've got to go out and make the argument, right? So do you believe that middle-class kids are more likely to get this additional needs than people who might have bigger needs?
So children and families have been left in a system where they've had to fight for their child's education. And that has to change. So fundamentally, we want to reform the system. What that new system looks like, we are still considering. We are listening, we are taking feedback, we're meeting with colleagues, we're meeting with experts, we're meeting with stakeholders in the system.
Kids being failed by the system.
I'm meeting children and families as well about what the system currently means for them, whether it's met their needs, whether it hasn't, whether they have an EHCP or whether they don't. I think whether a child has an EHCP or not has not necessarily fixed the situation for that child or that family. For some, it's really important for them, which is why I understand the anxiety at the moment. So basically, we just need to reform the system. We are looking at it, we are listening, we are making sure that every child has their needs met at the earliest stage possible, which is why we're so focused on early years. But we recognise that we need to invest at every stage of the school system to meet the needs of children and make sure that there's a system that doesn't leave this adversarial approach as the backstop.
A big part of the backdrop to all of these arguments is the fiscal situation. Of course, we know this, we've seen it before. Neil Kinnock, your party's former leader, told Sky News you should look at introducing a wealth tax. Do you agree with him?
So, I mean, these are decisions for the Chancellor, and I know the Chancellor
you must have a view,
is working
right?
very hard. It's not for me to anticipate or preempt what the Chancellor might decide in terms of tax policy.
Do you like the idea of wealth?
I think we have an awful lot of taxes in our system currently that do tax wealth and assets. And I think we need to get the balance right to make sure that we get the income that we need to make sure the country is thriving, and that, you know, that we have a fair tax system and a just tax system. But fundamentally, we need to get the economy to grow. And I know that's what the Chancellor is incredibly focused on. But
do you think the balance is right then?
But also,
you talk there about the balance between...
Unlock opportunity in our, which is what the Department for Education is very focused on. And, you know, you mentioned the best start in life. We mentioned the children with special educational needs. Fundamentally, we need to make sure that whatever your background, whatever your circumstances, the opportunity for you to unlock your opportunity and growth in the economy has to be tapped into.
We've spoken a lot about that, but I'm still not clear on your... Do you think the balance is right now when it comes to wealth taxes?
I mean, I think those are decisions for the Chancellor. So I'm not going to get involved in discussing and setting tax policy on this in this chat with you. But I appreciate the interest.